Good afternoon. I am a few minutes late this afternoon because I am going to tear shreds off one of my children. How dare they? They've been reading books. I had to run all around the house looking for the 5 books that I'm going to talk about today because they've put them places. And for the life of me, I have literally turned the house upside down looking for Sea Life by Matt Shawn. I am utterly devastated I can't find it because I've got an advanced copy of it and I want to show it to you. So I don't have that one to show you, but I'm still going to talk about it. What can you do? Your children want to read. So I've got 5 books that I want to talk about this afternoon, the first of which is the Matt Shawn book. Now, Matt Shawn is the author-illustrator behind Australian Birds, which was shortlisted in the Children's Book Council Awards this year. Absolutely stunning book. I just adored it. Sea Life is the new one. It is about yay big. It is quite a large book. It's very much a coffee table book. It's very beautiful. The first one was obviously about Australian birds. This one is about Australian sea life, and there's soldier crabs and there's whales and there's all sorts of interesting sharks. There's all sorts of interesting things. And what I really like about it is, like with Australian birds, you can really see Matt Shawn's experience in portraiture. So he does portraits of people, and you can really see the personality in each of the animals that he has portrayed in Sea Life. Now, the other reason that I wanted to talk about Sea Life today is that it's not out yet, and it won't be out until the 1st of October, but it's one of those books that I think would be a really good one to pre-order because I think it will sell out very quickly. It's very much a coffee table book. It's a great Christmas present. Oh my gosh, I just said Christmas. Actually, not a huge fan of Christmas, I have to say, but anyway, there you go, I mentioned it. Or upcoming birthdays. It's a very giftable book, so it's a good one to, if you were thinking about getting it, it's a good one to pre-order because I think it's going to sell really quickly. The next book that I want to talk about is Fashionista by Maxine Beneba-Clark. Now, I was lucky enough to see Maxine last week at the Brisbane Writers Festival, and I saw her doing an art workshop based on this book. So Maxine is probably best known in Australia, well, to the literary world, as a poet of great note and a novelist. And she has also written the books The Patchwork Bike and Big Wide World. I absolutely loved Patchwork Bike when it came out. I purchased that book for so many people. It was such a great celebration of make, do and mend and all of those things that I really love, and just that absolute exuberance and joy that is childhood. That one was illustrated by Van T. Rudd, who is a Melbourne-based graffiti artist and also nephew of another Rudd, and I really adore Van's artwork, and I believe there's another book coming with Maxine Beneba-Clark. But this one, Maxine Beneba-Clark has written and illustrated. So I was just so excited to see this book. I had seen the cover of it online and I could not wait to get a review copy of it. You can see that it's really beautiful. It's got gold foil on the cover, on the title, sorry, and her name. And it's just one of those books which immediately jumps out off the shelf at you. It's called Fashionista, Fashion Your Feelings, Work It, Wear It, Believe. Really nice end papers. So Maxine Beneba-Clark has done the artwork with collage and with pastels and with paint. Got it signed, love a signed book. And because she is a poet of great note, it just reads beautifully. I'll read you a little bit. Some dress days are mud stomping. Don't care what you wear. You puddle splash in tracky jacks with bed rumpled hair. Some days, mama makes you go brother match sister. But on other days, boom, strut it. You're a fashionista. A fashionista digs fashion. That means they think it's cool fun to dress up, step out, and show off looks they love. And so it goes on. It reads aloud beautifully. Lots and lots and lots of, there's somebody famous that you probably all recognize. There's an old Prince image. And it's got some really, really great images in it. There's a few famous images in it that she has recreated in collage. It's super clever. It's quite long for a book aimed at quite young readers, but as with all of Maxine's writing, you could listen to it all day. Rolls off the tongue beautifully. It's just superb. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the woman cannot put a foot wrong with any word. Every single word she uses is put in exactly the right spot. What I really like about it is it encourages that idea of being quirky and creative with your clothing choices and your fashion choices, and letting your fashion show who you are as a person, and really encouraging, I think, tweens and teens and even really young kids and even adults to just have a lot of fun with what they're wearing rather than get too caught up in what they maybe should be wearing. So I love the idea that you can homemade, hand-me-down, or brand new. You can wear your wardrobe however. Serena Williams. You can just, I don't know, have a lot of fun with it. There's obviously a great play with words element to it, but there's also just that really nice idea of wearing what you want and letting your fashion show your personality. Lots of really diverse characters pictured throughout. It just works really well. It'll be a great one for little fashionistas everywhere, I think, but also a really nice coffee table book. As I said, it's just really beautiful. I just love Maxine Beneba Clark. There's just, you know, I was a little bit awestruck when I saw her at Brisbane Writers Festival last week. I said something stupid, I think, as I tend to do. Now, another person that I tend to go awestruck around every time, and have done for 20 years now. Had a very big crush on this person in my 20s. Most people in the Children's Book Council world know about this long-standing crush I have had on Matt Ottley. Matt Ottley, astonishing. I just noticed another bit of gold foiling on this cover. So this is another brand new Matt Ottley illustrated book. Also by, written by someone else I completely adore and just kind of fangirl all over, Valanga Koza. I've met Valanga Koza a number of times because we've had him at the Story Arts Festival Ipswich on a number of occasions, and he's coming again this year, presumably to work with this book, Demansy and the Big Yellow Lion. And look, gosh, I don't even know where to start with this book. I knew it was going to be spectacular because Matt Ottley almost always gets it right. There have been a couple of Matt Ottley books that I've just been like, not my fave, but mostly I just have to buy multiple copies of them and own them all. This one is one of them. I will be buying this book for any small child in my life who will sit still long enough for the book. But it also comes with a CD, which is missing from my copy because my child has stolen it. She has been listening to it on the only CD player we own in the whole house, but I think she's then taken it to school. So that would be my one, not criticism, but my one query. Is there a better way these days of giving a audio copy of a book or music that goes with a book when you buy a print book? Would a QR code with a downloadable file, MP3 file, be better? I'm not sure. But whichever way you access the audio of this, it is exquisite. Demansy and the Big Yellow Lion on the CD is read by Valanga Koza, and he has the most amazing voice. It is just the most astonishing voice. And Matt Ottley has composed and played the music. And Matt Ottley is a composer of note, as well as being a incredibly accomplished illustrator and author in his own right. These illustrations, as far as I can see just from the imprint page, it says they've been done digitally. I did mean to email Matt and ask about that, because to me, if they've been done digitally, Matt, that is astonishing. That oil, that looks to me like an oil painting of a lion, and you won't be able to see it in the video, but that tongue has such amazing texture in it, and those teeth are so grimy and, you know, covered in plaque. It's just the most amazingly illustrated book. It is about a little girl called Demansy, and she is off one day to collect water for her family when she comes across a lion who is caught in a rope. She, being the kind girl that she is, says to the lion, look, I'm going to let you go, dude, if you promise not to eat me. So she lets him go, and then the lion's like, hey, but I still want to eat a Zulu girl. He's really hungry. And she's like, you promised you weren't going to eat me. So then Demansy starts saying things like, I'll let you eat me, but first let's go see what the other animals have to say. And so off they go. And at this point, my 7-year-old started singing the in the jungle, da, 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 da. What's that? The Lion King music. I love a wordless page. Anyway, they come across a giraffe and they ask the giraffe if really the lion should eat Jumanji. And the giraffe actually says, humans are making the jungle disappear. They're cutting down trees, setting things on fire and building fences everywhere. Lion, king of the jungle, go ahead and eat the girl. And the animals aren't particularly supportive. I think this is one of my favourite pages. Look at that giraffe looking at the reader. The perspective that Matt has created with his illustrations is amazing. Oh, hello, Megan Griffiths. Lovely to have you here. And then there's an elephant with a tusk missing, and he says, my tusk was taken by poachers, and poachers are human beings. Human beings are hurting my herd and making our jungle disappear. Lion, king of the jungle, go ahead and eat the girl. So, you know, the animals aren't particularly supportive of poor old Jumanji until a monkey comes along, and the monkey is, you know, he's a bit more on Jumanji's side. Again, we've got some great perspective here. We've got Jumanji looking up, and we're looking down from the monkey's perspective here. Matt Otley does some really interesting things with visual literacy and embedding some visual literacy skills throughout his text. Anyway, poor old lion gets tricked again. Look at that image. Lion is about to get stomped on by a herd of buffalo stampeding towards him. He's still asleep and he thinks he's tied up. He discovers, of course, that he's not tied up and he jumps away just in time. And so it goes on. It's kind of a retelling of a fable, I guess, but it's just exquisite. I absolutely adore it. It's going to go gangbusters. It's going to be shortlisted all over the place, I'm sure, and not just because it's V'langa Koza and Matt Otley. It's just a really, really beautiful book. Really enjoyed it. Okay, my next ones I want to show you are the Mission Alert series. Again, I had like 5 of these to show you, but 7-year-old has taken them and put them somewhere. Goodness only knows where. This Mission Alert series is great. I only came across them recently. Somebody in the Your Kids Next Read Facebook group recommended them, and I purchased one for the library, and then I've gone and ordered the whole series. They are done, they are a Bloomsbury publication. They're a high-low series imprint, and they have a dyslexic-friendly font, and they are on a tinted background. The sentences are reasonably simple, and there's not a huge amount of text on each page, but they are aimed at a much higher interest or maturity level. So these ones are all about, there's a whole series, they're called Mission Alert. They're twins, Tom and Zilla, and they are in boarding school, which they don't like very much at all. And they are basically spies. They're young spies. It's got a little bit of a cherub feel to it, but for much younger readers. And Tom and Zilla look like they might be in high school, but I've had grade 2 students very happily reading these. They're a little bit violent, but I guess it depends on their maturity and what else they've read. So certainly my grade 2 child has been loving these. She has a little friend in her class who has found these perfect for her, and in terms of what she likes to read and how she likes to read. So Chickpea has been reading these with her, and a lot of her peers have then been picking them up and going, we want to read the Mission Alert series. They are really, really fast paced. So in this one here, I think it is, there's a Russian spy. No, that's a robotics center with a dark secret. This one's got an evil billionaire in a mysterious island. There's another one with a radioactive plant and a Russian spy. They're just really fast paced, nicely constructed chapter books for kids who might read differently or who like a dyslexic friendly font or who are dyslexic. Then there is bonus bits at the end. This one says a bit about the author. I really liked the one about radioactivity. It talked a little bit about what a radioactive plant might look like and why it was really important to protect what might be going on there. It asks questions, so there's quite a bit of comprehension that you can do at the end, and then it gives you a bit of a teaser for the next one. This one at the end has got absolutely, oh yes, it does have other stuff, yeah. So it's got guess who bits about gadgets, what's next. So, and then this one's got a little bit of a sneak peek of the first chapter of the next book. Really like them, highly recommend them for kids who read differently. It's got a reading age. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to give it a reading age. I'm actually not a fan of reading ages at all. I just think every kid reads differently, and putting reading ages on things in regards to what I believe in is counterproductive. So I just think every child learns to read when they're ready, and learns to read in the way that suits them best. So I'm not a massive fan of putting reading ages on things, but I understand why classroom teachers need to. It's, you know, how they ensure kids are tracking along nicely with their reading. But as the teacher librarian, I'm more interested in developing that love of reading in children, and reading ages are not something I'm overly interested in. My final book is Jack Charles, Born Again Blackfella. Some of you might have seen on my social media last week, I saw him speak. I tried to go along to 3 sessions that he was speaking at Brisbane Writers Festival. I only made it to 2, but he was just a delight. So I've known about Uncle Jack Charles for a long time, and I was really, really excited to see this memoir come out, and it was an absolute privilege and an honour to meet him last week at the Brisbane Writers Festival. Got a gorgeous photo with him, he's just so animated, he's absolutely delightful, and I got this book signed to the Daily Girls, so to us 3 Daily Girls, because I really hope that this will be a book that my girls will read when they're a bit older, a lot older, and just gain as much from as I have, not only meeting Jack Charles, but also reading his memoir. It was ghostwritten by Namila Benson, and it's got an endorsement on the front from Paul Kelly, which is always going to be a winner from me. A hell of a yarn, a howl, a celebration, and a gift to us all, told by a huge-hearted, gutsy survivor. So, for those of you who don't know who Uncle Jack Charles is, he has been an Indigenous actor of great note, has, you know, been in so many productions over the years. He has been a cat burglar, which he talked about extensively at the Brisbane Writers Festival, and which he talks about in this book. He's been a musician, a heroin addict, an activist, and he was the Senior Victorian Australian of the Year. But the title he's most proud to claim is that he's an Aboriginal elder. He is just the most divine being. Goodness just radiates out of him, and goodness kind of radiates out of this book. It's a very, very hard book to read. So he was stolen from his mother when he was very young and placed in institutional care. So he's part of the stolen generation. He was raised under the White Australia policy, and he was severely abused over the years, sexually and physically. And it took him a long time to reconnect with his family. Some of his siblings passed away. His mother, I think, had 11 children in total. Not all of them made it to adulthood. Yeah, so this one, the dedication reads, for my brother Archie and my sisters Esme, Eva Jo and Zenep, and also for my 6 missing siblings. So there's a lot of really heavy content in this book, which I think is really important content that all Australians read, and read over and over and over again in very many different forms. I think this is an incredibly, important part of history. It's a devastating part of Australian history that we need to ensure is never repeated, and reading books like this ensures that we hopefully learn from our past mistakes. Alongside all of this very, very dark narrative, there is just this immense sense of humour and kindness about Uncle Jack Charles as well. I want to read you a tiny bit just from one of the prologues, which really I liked. It says, this is from Dr. Gary Foley, I have no doubt that new generations of Australians, both black and white, will derive great inspiration, as I always have, from his theatrical genius and his humanitarian humility. May he live forever. And when I read that, I thought, oh, that's the feeling I had last weekend at the Writers' Festival. Jack Charles had quite a cough at the Brisbane Writers' Festival, and a little tiny part of me was like, oh, may you please live forever. He just, is one of those very deeply good people. And then this is a letter that one of his friends wrote to me. You taught me about resilience and gratitude and how to move through the world with a lucidity driven by kindness, curiosity, and dignity. And, you know, I think there's an riding sense in this book that despite his achievements throughout life in so many areas, Jack Charles never quite felt like he fitted in whichever world he's been in. And, you know, so there's this immense sadness in this book, but it's just such an important book to read. And it's just so full of hope and goodness and kindness. It's incredibly well written. So Namila Benson, I suspect, has spent many, many months with Jack Charles, ghostwriting this book, co-writing this book with him. I was really pleased to see her name on the front cover. I think it's really important that we acknowledge ghostwriters and give them the credit that they deserve. It's a really uplifting memoir. Oh, I feel bad, I've just covered his face. It's a very uplifting memoir. You know, if you're a memoir reader, put this one on your must-read list. Okay, I will be back next week and I will hopefully have found Matt Shun's Sea Life by then, and I will be able to show it to you. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about this book, Atticus Van Catechus, because I'm going to see Andrew Daddo at Where the Wild Things Are next Thursday afternoon, and I am very excited about this book. I love books by Andrew Daddo, and Stephen Michael King is one of my favourite illustrators. I particularly like his dogs. He draws really great dogs, so I'm off to see him at Where the Wild Things Are on Thursday, and then we're going to a silent reading party at Where the Wild Things Are straight after the book launch, which will be really fun. An hour of just quiet reading, curling up in a corner of the bookshop and doing some quiet reading. So that should be super duper duper fun. And tomorrow I am off to talk at an early childhood conference for Chatterbox Childcare, and yeah, 5 million other things. Okay, have a great weekend.